Yeah,
Are you avoiding me?
haven't been haven't been feeling well, so I just been laying low.
Oh
Nope.
dear.
Cold or not anything worse than cold, is it?
Well, no, not really.
Did you test?
No.
Because my daughter Audrey, she had it COVID a couple of weeks ago. I know.
No, the answer to your question is yes, I'm negative. That's what I meant.
Okay.
All right, then.
Pete,
Shall we go?
tell us
Yep.
about this movie.
Yeah.
From 1992, Glengarry, Glenn Ross, directed by James Foley. Some of the other items in his filmography included, he was one of the 24 various directors that directed some of House of Cards on Netflix, of which Mr. Spacey was prominently represented. He also directed a great movie that actually is on my list called Confidence with Edward Burns and Dustin Hoffman and Andy Garcia, if you ever had a chance to see that one. It was written by David Mamet, who is a prolific writer. We could take the whole time just talking about everything he's done. Hannibal, Wag the Dog, The Edge, Hoffa, The Untouchables, The Verdict, which was one of my picks a few months ago. He also has done a lot of stuff in television. The movie had a budget of $12.5 million. It brought 10.7 at the box office. It didn't quite cover the nut. To say that the cast was blockbuster is an understatement. And but of everybody that was in that film, only Al Pacino was nominated for a Best Supporting Actor and did not win. But to me, well, I guess a couple of things. It may be difficult in an ensemble cast like that for someone to kind of get ahead of the pack and get noticed. But in my view, Jack Lemmon deserved at least a nomination for Best Supporting Actor, but nevertheless, he did not. I've always liked this movie. I mean, Mahoney knows me, and Bill knows me a long time, and Mahoney knows me a long time. But I've been in sales marketing my whole professional career, going back to '77. I was a buyer for Macy's and Western Auto, collectively for about 13 years, and then I jumped to the other side of the desk and became a seller. And this is going to be a little bio about me just for a moment, if you'll indulge me. But one of the things I learned after 13 years as a buyer, I had sales pitches made to me from the best in the business, both in this country. I used to travel to Southeast Asia. I was buying electronics. I had the best Japanese salesman, the best Korean salesman, the best Chinese salesman, as well as the best here in the continental U.S. And I decided after 13 years, and the fact that Western Auto no longer desired my services, to go on the other side of the desk. And I was able to use all the best techniques and pitches and approaches that I learned for 13 years on that side. And I've had a 33-year career on the other side as a seller. One thing I'm going to say about selling, you can't teach it. I think you either can sell or you can't. And I also believe it doesn't matter what you're selling. And I've sold everything from electronics to wood burning stoves to, I've been in the gaming industry for the last 33 years. So I think selling is an innate skill set, in my humble opinion. Be that as it may, this movie really resonated with me. I think it takes the art of selling, and I think it strips it down to its most primal essence. You always hear a lot in selling about, things like kill or be killed, or if you don't eat, if you don't sell. I tell people a lot, as far as what I'm doing today, and I'm working with a guy in Montreal now, that I eat what I kill. I'm on straight commission, and if I don't sell anything, I don't make any money, but that's okay. So selling is just such a, it's just well, a boss of mine in Western Auto once said, nothing happens till somebody sells something, so the characters in this movie, I just thought all of them in their own way, that the character they portrayed, the dynamics in that office, the guys like Williamson, Kevin Spacey's, we've probably, a lot of us have met people in our industries or in our business where they're in some kind of a position of authority, or they're the administrator, they're running the office, let's say, but they don't know squat about the business that they're alleged to be running. We've all seen guys like that. The Jack Lemmon character, Shelley Levine, especially when I was a buyer, I had a lot of guys come into my office that were Shelley Levine. Now, the difference though, Shelley was still trying to get the sale. Don't get me wrong, but I had a lot of guys come into my office that were, let's just say, in the twilight of their career, and were more interested in getting me down the street for a cocktail than take. And I'm sure my name was on a lot of expense reports where I was nowhere near wherever this alleged meeting took place. I hope you all enjoyed it. I don't know if anybody had not seen it before. It wasn't terribly long. It didn't take up a lot of your time. I think it's I don't know how, 90 minutes or something like that. But I just thought it was well done for the industry or the profession that it attempted to portray. So that's my take on it.
I know we watched 12 Angry Men at some point recently. This is like 8 Angry Men. They're all pissed off at themselves, their position in life, their company, their boss. They're just, Mamet's script is just, they're all pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times was the word leads said in the movie? It had to be
oh my
500
gosh.
times, right?
I was thinking that could be a drinking game and we'd all be drunk before the end of it.
Yeah.
Well, I spent 20 years on the reporter side of journalism, and then the last 5 years in TV, I was the general manager, and then the publishing thing. The last 25 years, I was a salesperson, and it's not innate. And for me, I had to surround myself with good salespeople and learn it from them.
Okay.
I never had the killer instinct, or, it wasn't a second nature thing to me, but I learned to appreciate it. And I got it, I ended up with an interview technique where the last question of the interview was, well, Pete, it's been nice to meet you, but, how do you think you did in the interview? Okay, well, I hate to tell you, I just don't think this is going to work out. And the people who went, oh, okay, all right, well, thank you for your time. They were, but the ones who said, what? You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Yeah. I would be the best salesperson you ever had. I'm not leaving this room until I get this job. Okay, can you start Monday?
Yeah, right.
People who would just refuse to not be told no.
Exactly.
So it was fun to, I hadn't been in that in a while, so it was fun to watch that whole dynamic unfold again with these 8 angry men.
There's all kinds of selling though, right? I mean, there's and even when I was a buyer, I had to be a seller. I had to sell the management of the company on the merchandise lines that I put together. I had to sell my vendors why they needed to lower my price. I had to sell the sales guys out in the field why it was worth their while to go out and present the program that I had put together. So we're all selling something. As a journalist, you're selling your credibility as a journalist to of the story that you're telling to the viewer or whatever. So I mean,
or if in Mahoney's case, you're telling some producer, you got me on page 8 of the second segment. This is the lead story.
Yeah.
Good God.
I also have been in sales and my whole life. And I actually saw this when it was a play first.
That's what I saw.
Yeah. In the 80s, I'm going to guess late 80s, maybe. And I remember I was angry because I was a salesperson, and I was a salesperson that felt like I had some integrity and some, and what I saw on this, on the stage was people that were, lying and cheating was just the name of the game. I also, however, have sold, and you might know it as timeshare. I call it crime share because, timeshare is a whole different ballgame when it comes to selling. And it has a lot of, and all the things that were happening in the.
Make sure your husband and wife are together, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, way more than that. Oh my God. And all the tricks. But when you think about, I used to get angry because, and this is just, again, my own belief. I believe that timeshare salespeople can be some of the best salespeople in the world for this reason. They can take, what they're selling is just a dream. They're not selling a product. They're not selling anything. They're selling at what you will be able to do in the future. And they can get, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 and do it in 90 minutes. That's a pretty good, salesperson. At the same time, there's, like Pete was saying, there's different types of sales. The salespeople, and I can see it in Glengarry, the desperation that they all were in. I mean, they were different levels of desperation, but they were all desperate. From Shelley with his daughter, I think, was in the hospital. And what you do know when you're on commission only, and you probably know this, Pete, is that you're only as good as your last sale.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good you were a year ago or 6 months ago or a month ago, you're only as good. What can you do for me today? So
What have you done for me lately? Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And
And then
we
there's also,
we had a great meeting. Oh, you didn't sell anything, huh?
yeah, yeah, yes. And the other thing was with well, I just saw desperation with all of them, between the two characters that are talking about, the leads. The leads are the what do you call it? The prize that they're going after, and they
Cadillac.
keep, yeah, and they keep going. They keep talking either buying them. Shelley tries to buy them, and the other two try to, they're going to steal them and all that. I mean, it's just the second time around when I saw the movie, I had a whole different take on it as well, because I've known so many people that, in timeshare, which is very similar, I think, to that selling, that you better sell this week or you're out, and it's a straight commission job. So you either sell or you're out, and people will then get desperate and they lie and they cheat and do all that if they have to, and if they can get away with it.
Yeah, I thought it was very close to timeshare because they were selling property on a
Exactly,
a future
exactly.
thing. Yeah.
But with timeshare, they've got all the little clauses, and I mean, the kind of training that you go through is, it's pretty amazing. Like Pete, there's just a lot of techniques to selling and a lot of things. I think you can learn it. I think some people have an innate ability that makes them really, really good. And then some people can learn it and makes them, good. And like Gary, when I had a business and I would give people an option, they could either get paid hourly or they could get paid commission. And the hourly was X amount, whenever that was. And it was, I always did it higher than anybody else. The hourly was higher than it is even now for a single wage. But I would do it higher or commission. And the people, and I knew it as soon as the people said, I'm not going to, work for and make no money. I want the hourly. I knew it was the person that wanted to work commission or the people that were going to be better. And they always were. So
Yeah.
true.
They bet on themselves. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And you've got to have the confidence.
Well, now there's companies that what they sell is they buy out your timeshare interest for,
Yeah, that's that's
But
another
they-
one.
they go
That's,
about it the same way, all
Yeah,
the
it's
meetings,
exactly- it's
venue,
actually-
husband and wife.
I know timeshare salespeople that are now on that end of it, that are now calling people that they sold timeshare to get them to sell their timeshare back. In reality, the
Well, you have
timeshare
to pay
companies
them for them to
will
take-
take it back, but
So Pete, do you think Mamet was hoping we would revere salespeople or be reviled by salespeople?
Well, I don't think he wanted us to revere salespeople for sure. I don't know if it was his intent to get us to revile them, but he certainly didn't, at least in that industry, the real estate / kind of time there. He doesn't paint a very attractive picture,
no.
to say the least. So,
Well, and the Spacey character looks like a worm through the whole thing.
yeah,
But in the end, he catches,
Lemon.
lemons in a bit of a, squeeze play,
yeah,
and so whether you think he knew what the hell he was doing or not, he knew enough to call that out.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I mean, Shelley Levine screwed up by, he is what he said, gave Williamson the clue that, hey, this guy was in here last night. How else would he know? If he wasn't
exactly.
here. So
Yeah.
yeah, he was a worm. He was a worm, and he no doubt got his job by some form of nepotism. There's no question about that.
But do you think Mamet threw him a lifesaver to make him, so that he had at least some endearing qualities, that he smoked out Jack Lemmon?
No, I do not.
No.
No, and he was still an asshole at the end of the movie.
Yeah, he was, but he was the
think-
one. Yeah.
I think that was his mechanism for ending the play, more or less, that he
Yeah.
figured out that who am I going to have do the denouement of this? And just was handy to have Spacey right there when Jack Lemmon spilled the beans, and he caught it,
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, are there you're talking about, is salesmanship inborn, or is it learned, or some combination of that? What personality traits make for the best salesman? And then I was also thinking that I don't really consider myself that way, but I sell operations to people every day.
Yes.
So,
Well, yeah.
But
That's the point I wanted to make.
your-
Yes,
your
everybody on this
prospects-
call can
Always be
a salesman
closing,
or is selling something or has sold something. Some may do it better than others, but we
Right.
all have sold something in our lives.
but
That's right.
What Jeff has is qualified leads.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
they come to
You are
me.
not-
I don't
you're
have to go to
not
them.
cold calling. You're not cold
Yes.
calling people. Hey, would you like your hand replaced? The people that are in front of you that you're selling, they're qualified.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a whole different dynamic. I just
Right.
have to qualify myself and convince them that what they're looking for makes sense or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
One of my favorite expressions is the key is not to know what you're talking about, it's to sound like you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Act the way you want to be, and soon you'll be the way you act. Yeah.
Well, we saw a lot of people who said, well, I worked at Macy's and I was in the men's department and I, did sales. Well, the people who walked into the men's department at Macy's were showing up to buy clothes or to get, surgery.
Right?
Right.
That's selling something.
Qualified leads.
If you're selling something to somebody who thinks they need something and you just need to sell them the right thing, that's a shorter path than somebody who didn't wake up today thinking, what I need is a piece of property.
Yeah. In Florida. Yeah.
But going back
Yeah.
to the suit department of Macy's, somebody might have come in for the $299 suit that was on sale, and a good salesman talked them up to $1,000.
Always
And the shirt
upselling.
and the
Sure.
tie and the suspenders and the socks and everything else too.
Right.
So I guess
Jeff, you were
analogous in
asking
my
about-
case, I would have to sell them a facelift and a breast augmentation.
And that's right.
And a suit.
And a suit, yeah, a birthday suit.
You're asking about what are the characteristics? What we often found is that, and we would ask them about their, what's your earliest memory when you're, one of the questions was when you were getting on the school bus, your first thing, if you had said to your parents, I want to be, I don't need to go to school, I want to be a movie star. If your parents said, oh, that's a crazy idea, get on the school bus, or your parents said, I think you can be anything you want to be. Those people that had their family history in sales and sort of the sky is the limit base of encouragement were rock stars in sales. People who had been told, go get an education, you're a dreamer, you need to, temper your dreams. They wanted the hourly wage.
Right.
The
had a
movie
lot to
that
do
I
with the
heard this
imprint.
mostly compared to was the Death of a Salesman.
Yeah.
I read that kind of review a few times, and I think it did have a lot of similarities.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Difference was Willie Loman was all by himself, and these guys were like a team, not really a team, but they were all trying to do the same thing and competing with each other. But still, it was the same idea, that desperation of.
Didn't Willie Loman just kind of degenerate? And by the time that movie ended, he was nothing really. But these guys, they sort of did that. I don't think they went down as far as Willie Loman did, but they went pretty far.
Right, but they weren't as old as Willie either. Yeah.
Sales is not a team sport.
No, it's not.
Any one of those in that room would have run the other ones over with a car.
That's right.
You're right.
Getting the leg up.
That's funny.
Gary, you said that it's not a team sport, but they did kind of team up.
That's right.
They all paired off at some point, didn't they?
Well, they were sympathetic to each other's failures. Yeah.
Yeah. But when I did have salespeople, if I had two people working at the same time, I would ask them if they wanted to, if they were, they were competent to throw all their sales in together. That way you didn't have this dog eat dog kind of atmosphere. You throw all the sales in together and then they'd split it. And it was like, then they'd help each other get the sale. Where when they were keeping their own book, they wouldn't help each other. If another person came in later, they wouldn't talk to them. I mean, sometimes you have to have cooperation when you're selling, and I think it works out better that way. As long as they're similar sales people, they make about the same amount of sales every week or every month or whatever. But
Pete, did you sympathize with anybody in this movie? Did you like any character?
I actually made a note of that. And you gotta like Alan Arkin. I mean, he's a sympathetic character. You gotta like Alan Arkin. I mean, he had no confidence anymore at all. He readily admitted he did not have game anymore. And the other guy you kind of feel sorry for is Pacino's customer, Link.
Jonathan Price.
Who is, after he is now, I don't know, after he found out the check was cashed, I don't know if that was too late for that 3-day attorney general thing or not, but the guy's literally, this is really how good of a salesman Pacino was. The guy's canceled and he's apologizing to Pacino as he's backing out of the office. So I thought,
sorry, I let you down.
Yeah. I thought those two people were, if there was anybody likable in the movie, I thought those were the two characters that were likable. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, Pacino's seduction of him in the bar was masterful.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. He was really not talking about selling him property at all.
No.
He was getting inside his head the whole time. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that is.
Well, and his attempts to keep him tied up the next day.
Right.
He had some moves.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a movie about aluminum siding sales?
Yes, with Robin
Or
Williams.
something like that?
Tin
Tin
Men?
Man.
Yeah.
Tin
Yeah.
Men.
Yeah,
Tin
Tin
Men,
Man.
yeah. Yeah, door to
Have to look
door,
that up.
that's right. Yeah.
I'm with Donna. I think I've seen this script on stage more than I've seen it on screen. Because it's a very compact,
Yeah.
one location thing, and it works very well on stage.
Well, the thing is that it was 12, and of course, I have no sense of how much movies cost, but 12.5 million, I'm going, that had to go to salaries because it's literally just, the office, and that's
Not
it.
many
And
special effects.
No.
yeah, there's no special, they had some rain, rain, thunder, the L that was going over, but it was like, geez, the set itself was nothing. So it had to be going all to salaries for all those guys.
It was
My
a
wife
huge
told me
cast.
that she read something about the difference between the play and the movie. Apparently in the play, the Alec Baldwin scene isn't at the beginning. It comes in somewhere,
That's
perhaps in
true.
the middle or whatever. And I thought,
Yes.
I don't see
Yes.
any way that scene doesn't happen except right at the very beginning where you set the tone for what you're about to
Well,
do for the next
Mhm.
90 minutes,
I don't remember it that well, but I do remember that the opening scenes, they were all jackpotting, if you know what I mean. The jackpotting is telling each other how they got this person to sign, how they got this person to sign. It's all the techniques that they think they're so good at, they start telling and so the audience is going, oh, he did that. Or the shills, how Jack Lemmon played the shill for
Pacino.
Pacino. Yeah. That kind of thing. I mean, they were all telling. So that's what I remember, is that the audience got a sense that the salespeople were, that they were just so awful, and how they were tricking people all the time. And then you also get the sense that they're all kind of in a slump, everyone was in a slump. So
I did
yeah,
see that the title that Glengarry, Glen Ross, this from the two properties. So it's Glengarry Highlands and Glen
Right.
Ross Farms.
Okay.
yeah, the two properties.
And did they describe those properties?
There's a scene where Pacino opens a brochure to show to the customer that backed out there, and he shows a picture of some slick brochure of some property
Yeah.
down in Florida.
But did they
Yeah.
ever talk about the properties themselves were without the customers? Did they ever say anything like these properties?
no. No, it has not, like Pete said, it has nothing to do with the product. It's all about the process of selling. Yeah. The good and the bad of it.
I thought
sure they did
Jonathan
it.
Price, he played quite a different character than the movie that Jeff recommended 6 months ago or whatever, probably a year ago now. What was it? The movie where it was pretty bizarre.
Oh, it was
Jeff.
Brazil.
Still.
Brazil, yeah.
Oh yeah. Jonathan Price is a wonderful actor. He's he's a big New York stage actor, and he's done a lot of movies too, but boy, he's wonderful. He can do anything, I think.
Which character was he?
He was the character that
This guy.
Pacino got, was trying to talk.
Okay.
When
Okay.
and
Get his money back.
Kevin Spacey came in and blew it for him.
Yes, because
That
he
was
did. Oh
his
yeah,
customer.
yeah, and it's yeah, so true.
Yeah, I mean he made that ensemble even stronger. Really, it was a great ensemble cast.
Yeah, they were.
What did you guys think of the final disclosure to Jack Lemmon that his clients that he thought he had done so well with were crazy?
Oh yeah, well, so being really racist, but then this was the other thing that bothered me too when I saw the play, because that is exactly what people, at least in that industry that I was in at the time, would talk about people that had the last name Patel. I mean, it would be, and this was how they thought, that because people from India like to haggle, they will spend all their time haggling with you, haggling, and never buy anyway. And that's, that was kind of the stereotype that went around. So, people wouldn't want to talk to people of Indian descent. I mean, when I think about it, it was awful. And it was, it's like that in real life.
It was awful, but true. Huh?
Yeah, but well, I don't know. I never, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, but I do know that was the stereotype that everybody talked about, just like they did. Oh, well, it had that name, so yeah, but it's so good, because I keep imagining David Mamet being in that office, and because he's a writer, just looking at all these characters that that he made this play from. I mean, he had to be just kind of sitting back and going, whoa, these guys, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, the jackpotting, the everything,
So what do you
What
think
gave
his,
him go ahead, Gary.
I was just going to say, what do you think his intent was?
Intent. Well, I think his intent was to show salespeople that sales isn't as. I think his intent would be to show people that when you buy something, you are not necessarily the one making that decision. Someone else is making that decision for you, and they're just getting you to go along with it. I mean, that's kind of what I think,
It was, he just showed the seedy underbelly side of
yeah.
not all sales are dishonorable,
No, they're not.
but he just picked a niche of an industry that, is not so forthright, whatever,
Yes.
upstanding.
My takeaway was, you have to recognize that some criminals are some of the smartest, sharpest people. They just choose to use their talents for less than honorable means.
Yeah.
And salespeople are sharp. They're reading body language. They're reading language. I mean, they're some of the smartest people in the world. And but there's a dark side to being a half a step of the rest of civilization.
Right.
Go ahead. What did you guys who employed salespeople do if you felt like one of your employees did something really unethical, but it created a sale?
Yeah, they would be gone. Absolutely.
Inevitably, there was a superstar salesperson who was a superstar because they were cutting corners or lying, and you just had to get them out of there.
Right. Because your whole business could go down.
Yeah, it's hard because they're helping the top line.
Right.
But you can't sleep at night because they're bending the truth. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Mr. Mahoney got to accompany me on a sales call in New York one time. We were back for the Yankees game, right, Mike? We went out to dinner with Danny and Lonnie in New York.
It was fascinating to sit at that table and watch you ply your craft. It was really interesting to see. I did sort of take away from this movie that this really did disclose the seedy, soulless underbelly of part of the sales industry, and not everybody is there, obviously, like that. But these folks, there are folks like this, and Whit, your assessment that they're a half a step different than most is probably, the advantage that they got. They think a little differently or process it a little differently.
Well, well, I'm sure Gary, all of you guys, I think that when you get, especially if you're doing like the sales that they're talking about is kind of a one-on-one sale. And then there's sales where you're talking to big groups and all that. And I was thinking as I was watching this, what is it about sales that gives you that, when you make a sale, it's great. When you lose, but it's really a high. And then I connected it to, Donald Trump. I remember when I first saw him, I said, I kept on going, what are people seeing that I don't see? Why are they? And then it occurred to me, it's the salesman in him. And he gets his high from getting people to being able to control people. And, you get it. There is something when you're selling and that you're taking a person in a direction, and I'm sure this, Pete, you have the sale and you just kind of are getting this person to go in the direction you want them to go. And when I think of Donald Trump, it's like he does that on a big scale. And it doesn't matter what he says or anything, but he has the control. And that's when I first saw him, I said, this guy is a salesman and a con man. And, and we'll find out. But I mean, I connected Trump to he is a salesman, I guess, but I could see him using the takeaway techniques and all those techniques that.
I will admit one flaw or weakness as a salesman is that, and I say this all the time, you can sell a salesman anything.
Yeah, you can.
Anything. I left Mahoney at the Quaff one night. might have been overserved a little bit, went home and saw an infomercial for the Little Giant ladder and bought a ladder that night, which Joe Panino at the Quaff gave me shit about for the next year. He always asked me how my Little Giant ladder was doing. What shitty Wayne Newton tickets again after the Quaff one night. So yeah, because you want to believe the pitch.
Right.
It's all about the pitch.
That's right.
And,
the pitch.
Yeah, I've been sucked in.
How was the ladder? How was the ladder, Pete?
I still have it to this day.
And it was good. I know that little ladder.
So now you're selling them.
Yeah.
I got to use one.
I think sales is very. I think it's the same as somebody who leaves the tribe and goes out and kills the big animal and brings it back. It is the kill. I think it's the same adrenaline rush that a tribesman used to get on a hunt.
Right.
Yeah.
And then be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
What do you think about the incentivization of the Cadillac? Is that a realistic thing that they would use?
Oh,
for-
hell
sure.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I mean, see, the business part of me thinks, well, why not just screw the Cadillac and just reduce the price to the customer? But I guess that doesn't
Please.
incentivize the sales.
Please don't. That would
I knew a
be-
guy that
So
Yeah.
confused.
Jeff, you
guy
are
that-
perfect sales management material.
Yeah.
I knew
Well,
a
now-
lot of guys in the major appliance. They work for like Norge or Frigidaire, Maytag, guys like that. And one of their lines was sell appliances and see the world, because there would always be trips to Europe or South America or someplace, depending on whatever sales contest they had going on at the time.
That's
So,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
definitely a very, very real thing.
Oh, absolutely. One of the bad things when I heard about this in Crime Share, I never saw it, but they would call, how timeshare, they call you up and they say, you won a sweepstakes and we're calling you, you just have to come and pick it up. And it was a color TV. Now at that time, I guess color TV was, something that not everybody had, I guess. So this is going back. And when the people got there, it was a little tiny TV that was and it wasn't, it was either blue or pink or red or orange, the outside of it. So, and that was your little color TV. But, they get that at the end of the pitch, so at that time.
Jeff, Arthur, in the timeshare stuff, it used to be you've won either the Cadillac or the color TV or
Right.
the steak knives.
Well,
And that would
yeah.
get people in the door and then they'd hand out steak knives all night.
Of course, yeah.
No one ever won.
You
the
have,
Cadillac.
and here's the thing, you have 1 in 4 chances of winning a Cadillac or steak knives or a big, 1 in 4 chances. Well, in reality, there were 4 things, and one of them is going to be the big one, but there were millions that would go out there. But that's how they pitched it. 1 in 4 chances of winning a Cadillac or whatever it was, crazy.
Terry, there were no guns in this movie that I recall. What'd you think of the movie? Had you seen it before? Or what thoughts?
Imagine
subject
that
matter?
imagine that you just popped into this group
Yeah,
and had never seen the movie
okay.
and heard people describing it. Is it actually something you think you'd really want to go see? I mean,
You might
I
feel
saw it
better about
once,
yourself.
and
That means, Terry,
wasn't
you didn't
going
see
to
it.
subject myself to it again. So I didn't watch it. Sorry.
That's what I figured.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, you knew the subject matter, but just decided
No,
not to?
I had seen it before, and I was
Oh,
like,
you
I
had?
don't want to
Okay,
watch that
okay.
again.
Mm.
Gotcha.
So
Well,
I mean,
imagine
it's
coming
kinda
into
like-
this group, having not seen the movie, and you're listening to everything that's been said. It's like, would you really want to go see a movie like that?
Well, the acting was really good. I mean, you
Yep.
gotta
But as a
respect-
movie, I mean, come on, there's no scenery, it's just a bunch of guys talking. So
but no guns.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Just the brass balls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a character
And he
study
pulls away.
in a way, right? I mean,
Yeah. It's very much a character study. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting subject matter. Wouldn't watch a TV series out of it maybe, but for 90 minutes or whatever, I thought it was an interesting character study.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask Jeff, I spend a lot of my time in doctor's offices waiting to go see the doctor, and the pharmaceutical salespeople quickly get in. They're usually gorgeous people, male or female. They've got suits on, they've got their rolling case, and you're in there with 19 other people, and they get to go to the head of the line, and they tie up the doctor for like half an hour or an hour, and you finally get in.
Yeah.
That's still out there? Do they still do that?
Well, the people who come see me are always trying to sell devices, and we know that they're going to bring lunch. So we're going to eat lunch anyway. So what we do is set aside a lunchtime so that it doesn't interfere with the flow of patients or be rude to any patients. And we get a lunch out of the deal, and I learn a little bit about what the new technology is. So I'm different than an internist or somebody who's dealing with, immunosuppression drugs or something like that, who really is busy every 15 minutes, and they have to carve out a little time for this person to come in and detail them about stuff. There has been some legislation that limited what they could give us. They can't bring in all the pens and the pads and all the other stuff that they used to do. And it's hard for them to take people on trips like they used to do. They take the orthopedic guys to Florida or play golf with them and, in Louisiana or something like that. They can't really do that so much anymore, but there's still, my wife is giving me advice about how this works. So if you bring pens, you have to bring enough pens that everybody in the office can get one.
Oh, equal.
Yeah. So it's not as bad as it used to be, and it depends on the office and how you control it, but they are still selling to the offices for sure.
Right.
And you're right about how they look. They always choose people who have a smooth presentation and are physically attractive.
Yeah, right out of the sorority house.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So I have one little question, and was that ABC was that from this movie, or is that something that's been around forever?
Oh,
That
it's been
always
around
be
forever.
closing.
Yeah,
Always be
Yeah, I'm
closing.
sure. Yeah.
It
it's
was
been around
AIDA.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. ABC. Yeah.
Okay.
How about coffees for closers?
But there's always no funny, no money. That was a big one. You know, if you couldn't get them to laugh and to get, stop from having a closed position to an open position, you know.
I know we got other things to talk about before we close. I just wanted to tell you one other little thing. One of my favorite little sayings when someone bitches about the price.
Oh,
There's a story about a lady that comes into the butcher shop and she asks the butcher, how much is your hamburger? And he says 99 cents a pound. And the lady goes, Jesus Christ, the guy down the street's 89 cents a pound. He goes, why don't you just go buy it down there? She goes, well, he's out. He goes, oh, well, when I'm out, I'm 79 cents a pound. Okay.
boom, boom. That's a salesperson.
All right.
Mike Mahoney's not laughing. I think he's heard that one before.
Probably for me at the clock.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No, it's a good one. Oh, yeah, I'm smiling at it. And yes, I have heard of it.
Well, what's up for next week?
Yeah.
Next week is my pick.
Yes.
I have picked Inception.
What is it?
Inception.
Oh, Inception. Oh,
ION.
good one.
Christopher Nolan, 2010. It's on HBO and Netflix, and also on the Big Five if you need it.
Oh, that's a good one.
And we haven't done that. I called Bill to make sure we hadn't done that. I hope Bill. Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Michael Caine, Elliot Page, and Ken Watanabe. It's about
I can't remember that one.
It's about
It's a really good one. It's kind of dreams. It's about dreams.
right. It's
And
a
getting
company
into
that sells dream experiences, and Leonardo DiCaprio is a thief who steals ideas from people's dreams.
yeah.
And then he has someone come to him and hire him to plant an idea in a CEO's head.
All right.
That's when the fun begins. Nolan wrote this at the same time he was directing Memento. So that kind of gives you an idea of where his head was.
Yeah. So it has that same, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Well, I look forward to that.
And then, like I said, it's one of those few that's on Netflix and HBO Max. So be my luck
gonna say-
if they'll go off next week.
He was also microdosing at the same time.
Was he?
Well, probably. It's really inventive.
It is very imaginative.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
Any
one.
other recommendations from people?
Hmm.
I've got one. Well, I'm still got the floor here. Pretty Baby Brooke Shields. This is on
Oh, I
Hulu.
want to see that.
It's a multi-parter. God, I wish I could get away from these multi-parters, but I watched the first one today. Today is when it was premiered on Hulu. And it's a documentary about how she was sold as a sexy girl and how that affected her and her mother's lives.
What was it, Mike? I'm sorry.
So Pretty Baby, which was the
Okay.
name of the movie, Brooke
Brooke
Shields.
Shields. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is that a new movie or was that?
It's a
new
documentary on her.
documentary
Yeah.
on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
She was in
It's
a
on
movie by
Hulu?
that name, right? When she
Right.
was
She-
very young.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was watching something on Hulu and that popped up. I thought it was
Yes.
just the movie, but this is a doc about her and
Right.
that. Okay.
Right, about being in that movie and being
Gotcha.
in Blue Lagoon doing news.
Yeah.
When she's a teenager.
Gotcha.
And then it's
Yeah.
interesting, the people that she, grew up with and stuff. Laura Linney plays a prominent role in this, and they grew up together. They were friends and went to school.
Really?
Yeah.
So I finished watching this season's Shrinking today, and it's real good. It's a good show. I think I recommended it before, but then
Right.
a movie came on after that that's also on Apple Plus, called Tetris. And so I'm going to recommend that.
Oh,
But Tetris opens up at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas in 1988.
yes.
And they have, I mean, back in the day when Pete was living behind me, that was kind of his deal too. It made me
I
think
was
of
probably
Pete.
at that show. I was probably
Yeah.
there.
And you know, it gets into all the electronics of the time. Of course, Tetris is a you know, a game from that time.
Yeah.
But it has some Russian origins in it and things like that. So, I mean, it's not going to win any Academy Awards or anything like that, but it's kind of an interesting show. Might appeal to some more than others, but I'm going to recommend that one. And Succession is good. It's back on.
I love that show.
It's so good.
Yeah.
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 Anybody got any other ones that they want to get out there?
I had, for the life of me, I need friggin' Prevagen. I can't remember.
Got a big basketball game to watch tonight.
Oh, that's it.
And it looks like the Royals are going to win a game. Anyway, Pete, that was a good pick.
Yeah, it was great.
Yes.
Great. Very good. Yeah, enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've
And
seen
the-
it before, but enjoyed seeing it again. You know, the writing in that, and just some of the scenes where there are only, and there are lots of scenes in this thing where there are only two cast members on stage for a whole scene, and it's like
Right.
watching heavyweight boxers. I mean,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, really good.
Why do we like to watch? I mean, I think Terry's observation's a good one. I mean, why do people like to watch movies like this? I mean, I liked watching it, you know, and every once in a while watch Death of a Salesman, and I'm sure there's several others like that, you know, that
well, it's like Inherit the Wind just a couple of weeks ago. It is written
Exactly.
so well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think with the cast, you have to want to at least think about giving it a look just from the power of the cast that's in that movie. I mean, you know, and you know, they might have, those guys might have worked on the cheap just for the privilege of performing in that type of a film for Mammoth. You know what I mean? And sometimes you get the brother-in-law deal on their appearance fee or what. I'm not suggesting that's the case, but I don't know what the going rate was in 1992 for A-list actors, but
Supposedly, Pacino dropped his rate.
His salary, yeah.
Yeah, to do it, and then there's another story. I don't know if it's true or not. That some guys that were not, they weren't going to do their scene or had a scene that day would show up on the set anyway just to watch the other guys work.
Yeah, the writing is so good that, you know, that, yeah, like you said, it's like a boxing match, and you can, it's almost choreographed. It's so good, the wording and the rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also, you know, just by the number of pictures of Jack Lemmon, that we all were pretty impressed with him. I think he's like, you know, a great actor of maybe even like you could say our parents' time or something like that. And to see him in there just was like kind of like seeing an old friend or something.
he killed it in that movie, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
he was.
I thought Pacino was good, but I thought Lemmon should have got a look for best.
Right.
If Pacino's picked nominated for best supporting, certainly Jack Lemmon should have. But
Yeah,
I did watch a YouTube video of an interview with Jack Lemmon about this movie, and where he talked only about this movie, and he talked about the ins and outs of it. It was a good discussion. If you ever want to see more about it or what his thoughts were about this movie, there are a lot of YouTube videos about this movie where all the actors reflect on it. Really.
Yeah. I bet it's really good. I'll tell you one that I saw that I have a feeling none of you guys would like it, but I'll tell you anyway. It's called Schmigadoon. And it's Norman Lear, and it's like the Saturday Night Live gang. That it's a it's a couple, a modern couple that go hiking, and they end up in this place that's all musicals, and the guy hates musicals, and it's just so it's kind of funny. It's hokey, but I watched it, and
Okay.
you got to kind of get into it, and I kind of laughed a lot through it. But it's if you didn't like it, it's a takeoff on Brigadoon, and if you don't know what Brigadoon was and Schmigadoon, I don't know. It's kind of hokey, silly, but kind of funny. So,
All right.
all right.
So what was the name of our movie again, Mike?
Inception.
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 All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Well, everybody have
See
a
you
good
next week.
See you next
Yes.
week.
Okay.
See you all later.